Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I'm Rick Zanatti, and I'm joined today by Harold Muliati. Leslie isn't with us today, but please feel free to check out her website at learnappeal.com. Oh, I did it wrong. It's learnappeal.org.uk. I haven't done this in a while. learnappeal.org.uk. It's a great charity. Do check them out. And joining us today is Harold Muliati, like I said, and Kevin Siegel from IconLogic will be with us today. He's going to be talking about engagement and gamification, a good subject. Here we go.
This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Digital learning development, media development, corporate video, management consulting, and more. Visit us at www.relate.com. Thanks.
And we are back, and in that center position of power, as we like to call it, we've got Kevin Siegel. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Good riddance to 2020 is all I'm saying.
Yeah, let's just hope 2021 doesn't want to emulate it.
No,
please, no. Well, Kevin, how have you been?
Doing well, awesome. We ended the year on a strong note, even though it was a horrible year generally speaking, and we're hoping to continue that in 2021. I hope the same for everybody listening to this presentation.
Yep, we ended the year better than we thought. It was a bad year, though. It was not an auspicious year, that's for sure. But at least we started okay. At least this year, we're like you. It's starting to pick up, and I hope it continues.
Yep. I do as well.
So, a lot of people who know you or don't know you, Kevin runs IconLogic, which is a great training company. Kevin also writes a lot of training. He writes a lot of books and manuals. In fact, we were looking the other day, Kevin, you'll find this. I'm going to go buy your RoboHelp book because we have a project in the near future which is probably going to be a RoboHelp project, which is a pretty cool tool. You're the only one who wrote anything on RoboHelp, and we went, that'll be good. So that should be interesting.
People can support RoboHelp. So if you've never heard of RoboHelp, it's help authoring. So it's something that I do as a technical communicator. It's something I do pretty much every day.
But
go ahead.
It also builds incredible websites.
Yes.
I was shocked.
Yeah. Right. People come to that RoboHelp class. They're like, well, what can I do with this thing besides help documentation and user guides? And I'm like, well, it actually is an awesome web application tool. So if you've got to make a website, you can make a website that's completely interactive. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I was talking to an instructional designer I know, Lynn Laurie, and she's another certified RoboHelp person. And she was talking about building websites with it. We never even thought of that. So, thank you, Lynn, for the idea. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're waiting for that project to kick in one of these days or weeks. Anyway, so today you wanted to talk a little bit about gamification, engagement, things that unfortunately in e-learning many times are missing. What have you got in mind?
Well, I remember last time we met, Rick, we had a discussion about the levels of e-learning, and that got me thinking about the whole gamification. And just as a brief summary of that, there have been some people and websites that say when you come to level of e-learning and you're trying to figure out what you're going to charge your client, that there's 3 levels of e-learning. And level 1 would be the video-based e-learning or minimal amount of interactivity. So you think something you might see on belinda.com. Or something you'd see on YouTube, or a PowerPoint presentation bought into Captivate or Storyline or Camtasia, and it just kind of moves through. That's level 1. Then level 2 starts to get a fair amount of interactivity. So at a minimum, professional voiceover audio, click boxes, buttons, hotspots, you want to call it Storyline. Camtasia can also do those hotspots. Quizzing, absolutely, although certainly quizzing can be part of level 1. There's a bit of a range gap there that I'd love to have standardized. And then you get into level 3. Now you start getting into the highest level of e-learning. But even at that level 3, it's a really wide range. And I do have some samples I'll show you in a little bit about the kind of level 3, potentially level 3 e-learning that you can create easily in Storyline or Captivate. Level 3 e-learning is not something I don't think you can do in these awesome programs like Camtasia. Camtasia really much stops at the end of level 1, maybe level 2, low level 2, because you can put hotspots in there for branching scenarios, and certainly you can have quizzing, but you can't have complex quizzing or custom quiz questions. So we're talking about level 3 e-learning, but even at level 3, there's multiple levels. And one of the things that I mentioned last time was when we talk about level 3 and what people call gamification. Gamification can exist in level 2 e-learning without an incredible amount of effort by the Storyline or Captivate developer. In Captivate, you just have to be proficient in advanced actions, and in Storyline, you got to be proficient not just in triggers, but conditional triggers. And I've got some samples of things that were built in Storyline. I would call that upper level 2, lower level 3. Gamification, or at the very least, engagement. You get into the upper ends of gamification, you're talking about virtual worlds where you are a character, an avatar in a game, and you can walk through the game and you can pick things up and put them in your inventory, and those things can be used on other things in the game. So those people, and there's probably many, many people that are listening to this that have used games like on the PlayStation or on the Xbox, you know the kind of games I'm talking about that are totally immersive and that would be considered gamification. And one of the games that I took from an e-learning perspective at a conference was, and I mentioned this last time as well, was project management, which you could just in your mind visualize how boring a course on project management could be. But this project management course was all about you were Christopher Columbus and you were discovering the New World. And as you're Christopher Columbus, you've got to get your budgeting squared away. You've got to get your crew. You've got to get your inventory. You got to get all this stuff and timelines. And of course, I had 5 minutes to play the game. So I walked into a bar. I pointed to a bunch of people in the bar and said, come on a cruise with me. And we got on the ship. And 5 minutes into the game, the crew killed me. And I asked the person who was managing the game, what happened? And they said, well, you didn't do your Myers-Briggs, did you, as a project manager? And I'm like, no, wasn't even thinking about it. And it turned out he ran the Myers-Briggs. He ran the Myers-Briggs on my crew, and they were cutthroats and murderers, every one of them. So that's why they killed me minutes out to sea. So when we talk about gamification, wouldn't that be awesome for all of us to create e-learning that does that kind of thing? So that's awesome.
Well, and I think we touched on this a little bit last time, but what I was thinking when you were talking about this example is that while there are a lot of parts of this example that are very expensive to make and you know very impressive in terms of like having a virtual world that's very convincing visually and in terms of audio and that sort of thing, but really at the core, and this applies to a lot of gamification examples, at the core what you have is a risk-reward loop. I mean, when you're actually taking the training, I would suppose you're not only supposed to play it once, you're supposed to go into it, you fail, and the game, by making you fail, teaches you what the risks are. And I mean, you kind of have an idea of the rewards from the beginning. But as it teaches you the risks, you start learning, well, I have to do this and this. I have to apply my skills this way and push it this far, but not too far, or else I'm going to fail.
Right. I agree with you 1,000%. So then what does it look like, and what's the level of effort, and where can you create it? Because that game that I was talking about where you're Christopher Columbus and you're sailing the ocean blue, that was millions of dollars. And you cannot create that effectively with the tools that most of us have available to us. So you think about what the kids are playing today from a graphic standpoint, and how good do the graphics have to be. So what's the game that most of the kids are playing? And it's not just young kids, it's kids into their teens, I know, because my teens are playing it. And it's that, for me, the graphics on it are horrible. Minecraft, I see my kids playing that. I'm like, are you into this game with the blocky graphics? I mean, that looks like some of the stuff that I could have done years and years ago just using stick figures. And yes, they love it. So it's not necessarily the graphics have to be really, really awesome. It's more the game concept itself. And how much context is there to what I'm being taught. And I think you can get away with lesser graphics.
Yeah,
so,
and you know, there's also that addiction factor. How addicting is the game? Like Minecraft's been around since the 80s, early 80s. And it's
and the graphics have not improved since the 80s.
No, they haven't.
Right? But no. And I think that's intentional. They're not looking to make this graphically slicker, although they could. So you start talking about what can you create. So Harold, I love what you were saying there. So can you bring up that sample created in Storyline, the credit game? Because that was one that we teach people how to create in our Storyline classes. So if you start clicking on some of those objects, you can see you're getting a score. So basically the object of this game is how can you lower your credit score? And I think there's 25 points you can get if you click the right ones. And if you click the wrong ones, it takes points away. So, and you'll notice that we did this in Storyline. And then what you can check is that it's got conditional checks in here, so that if you click on the same box twice, it doesn't score more than once. So once you've clicked it, it eliminates it from a potential score. Now, if you reload that web page, because this game is not in a learning management system, it'll just reset you back to 0 if you want to play with it again. So the point is, now, Harold, you can keep clicking on this until you get the perfect score, right? And you would have been told before you got here, your goal is to do this, to give it context. And as you do this, here's what's going to happen. But you can see it's working just through a web server. But if you wanted to track the score and make a game out of it and compete with other people, well, let's talk about that. How would you do it? You actually could add this to a learning management system, and then it would track what score you got. And if it tracks your score, many of the learning management systems then would make a game out of the game and put you in competition with other people in your organization. So you could get maybe a badge if you completed it. And you could see, hey, Kevin, you defeated Harold. Harold got 18, you got 19. And all of a sudden, Rick sees that and realizes the game is still out there. I'm going to go play this game. I'm going to try to get a 20. Now Rick's winning. Now, to me, because that puts me against Rick, against Harold, and we're all work for the same organization. And if you tell someone in your organization, the one who gets the highest score in the credit game is going to get a trip to Aruba. You want to be exotic, right? A new Tesla. It's be exotic. Or a $25 Starbucks card to be reasonable. Those are all possible. Or maybe there's no prize at all. It's pride, not prize. So I know that I beat Rick, and Rick beats me every time. I got him this time in that credit game. And that is maintained in the LMS with badges and scores.
And by the way, if you're watching this live, I've just posted the link. We've just posted the link to this example if you want to check it out yourself.
Right. Now, if you talk about, all right, so you don't want to do that kind of a game thing. Oh, to me, that is attainable gamification at a level that we can all achieve. There's no graphics that you have to put in there. So if you're not a graphic person, don't worry about it. Cool graphics, not so cool graphics. It's just pure, I'm competing. And either I compete with myself, put this up on a web server, I see my score. I compete with myself and it's scored, put it in an LMS. I compete against other people in my organization, put it into an LMS where everybody can see the score of everybody else. And now you got me and Rick and Harold going head to head. And that is the very essence of competition for me. That's what you can do. Now, if you don't want to go the traditional gamification, we're talking about, I just want to engage. Captivate, as far as I know, it's the only desktop e-learning development tool that is affordable, lets you do virtual reality. So the second one there, Harold, is an example, a real easy one on virtual reality. So if you click that little play, the autoplay arrow there. So this was created, and I'm hoping it pops up on your screen. Well, yours is blocked, huh, Harold?
I think our browser may not be showing this. Let's see.
Yeah, it should be like this open room.
Let's see. I can get this running in just a little bit here. Let me see.
Okay, so the other one, once Harold gets it running, I actually haven't seen that block before, so that's interesting. That's HTML5, so it should play on mobile devices, desktops, laptops. So if you put the URL into the chat pod or wherever it goes here for people to click it. I bet people can click it even with their phone and can interact with this. And if you're wearing the embarrassing virtual reality goggles, you can actually see it that way. So that would be virtual reality, so that you are immersive. You've put somebody in the actual room and they're engaged that way. And that virtual reality can include quizzes in it, so now you can actually quiz someone on what they learned in the virtual reality space. So this is Captivate's Adobe's second take on virtual reality. They rolled it out in 2017, 2017, then 2019. They continued it to 2019, really didn't make any changes to it in the 2019. My understanding is that, look, I don't have a crystal ball to know when the next version of Captivate's coming out, but I'm hoping that it's 2021, maybe middle, late in the year, 2022 at the latest, I hope, because Captivate really needs a facelift and some help. I'm hoping that they really enhance the VR capabilities, because to create the virtual reality, all you need is a 360-degree camera. Can you all still hear me okay? I got some really bad feedback.
Sorry, that was me bringing up this on the other computer. Let's see if it'll work this time.
You press the autoplay. There it goes. So now, spin around the room there, Harold. So you see the target. You can kind of click on that target above that monitor. So we're pretending we did a virtual reality on our training lab. And so I want the students to interact and click on things, right? So go ahead and go on back to your left. And you'll see that there is there's like a cue there. That's a quiz. Go ahead and click it. So you can incorporate quizzing into virtual reality. So the thing about this, anybody who actually comes to this site and clicks on that, if you put your virtual reality goggles on, your VR goggles, you'll actually be in this room. And then your hands become the controller, just like using Xbox and the old Wii kind of thing. If you look at the ceiling, by the way, Harold, I got a little surprise on the ceiling for you. Yeah, why would you look up there, right? So what were you saying, Rick?
Is this done in Captivate?
This is done in Captivate. Done in Captivate. And that picture that you see, that's one of the 360 assets they give you for free. So I didn't even take the picture. But the thing about the virtual reality, what I hear all the time, and think about the engagement and turning it into a game, right? Is, well, okay, you want me to get the VR camera. That's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. Absolutely not true. The camera that we got that we're taking a lot of great pictures with cost under $200. It actually was like $125 at Best Buy.
No, they've gone down.
It connects right to the iPhone. Yeah.
And so in the last 3-4 years, they went from about $200 to $400. Now they're down to, like you said, $100 and something.
Yeah, nothing. So you connect it right to your smartphone. Mine connects right to my iPhone through the, what do they call it, the Fire port, whatever that port's called. Now, one thing I would recommend to people if they're going to do virtual reality is, yes, get the camera, but get yourself some kind of a monopod for your camera. And the reason for that is if you have a tripod, meaning you got the 3 legs coming off of there, when that camera takes the picture, it goes straight down, and of course it goes up, down, behind you, everywhere. Yep. So you're going to end up getting those legs in your picture. So I ended up kind of kludging together 3 different tripods, ended up with a monopod. I think you can buy them now, one with a suction cup, one with a stake. Because I will tell you, when you get these cameras, you don't want to hold the camera when you take the picture, because if you do that, you're going to be in the picture. Yep. And the one that I got was the Nano. The Nano, when it takes the pictures, you are actually in the picture, and so you're holding on to the camera, and it takes the camera out. So you look kind of silly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I actually think the thing that you pointed out in this piece, where you look up at the ceiling and it's it's got the thing, why are you looking up here? It seems like just a whimsical, silly thing, but I think it's interesting because this is another part of game design, which is not necessarily a big expensive thing, but it's when you add in things that have a sort of provide a variable reward. That is, you're doing something and maybe you didn't even know that was going to something was going to happen when you did that, but sometimes something happens. That's in psychology, that's considered like one of the most powerful types of behavior. Sorry. One of the most powerful creators of behavior is when you provide conditions that can reward someone, but won't always. It's why gambling is so addictive, for example. So you're kind of putting in things that are sort of unexpected, but people kind of stumble onto. That can be a very powerful thing to make people not only sort of push the limits of what you're giving them, but it'll make them try out different things because they're like, hey, I want to see, I want to look over here. I want to push this button to see if that's going to do something, even though it's not explicitly telling me it's going to do something.
Well, there was a game years ago, and this is back probably the 90s, and it was called, I think it was the Little Critters series or something, but it was called Just Grandma and Me. And they were great. I remember when my daughter was 2 years old, I'd be playing that with her, and eventually I just kicked her off, and as I'm playing, this is fun. But you had to click on everything in the world. It was immersive. And everything you clicked on had either a noise, a graphic, an animation, some music, and it became a lot of fun. And it was so simple. If you look at the course, you could probably do that course with something like a Captivator storyline without too much of an issue, because it just moved along. Harold, you were talking yesterday about showing Kevin that immersion piece that we did a long time ago.
Oh yes, Lyle. Actually, let me.
I don't know if you've got that. Yeah, this is something we did 12 years ago with Captivate, and then we also did it in PowerPoint to show that it could be done in other environments. And it was really, really simple. We actually, at one of the technologies, we did a talk on this one, and people were going, well, yeah, but we don't have graphic artists to do this. And I go, we used a cell phone camera. We walked around and took pictures, and they're going, huh? You didn't have to do it. You could do it with a cell phone. You could just do it buying some graphics from wherever you go, Adobe stock or whatever. And that's all you have to do. And they were just shocked at how easy it was when we showed them what it was. I don't know. Do you have that running, or do we even have that?
The way I have it going, it's going to... the way I have it going, it won't have the sound, but we should be able to get it in here.
Kind of misses something without sound, but let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
But we can quickly, like 2 or 3 things in and get back to Kevin.
Let's see. Let's see. I have the. Where did I put the URL for that?
But we just did that trying to figure out. We saw some packages that were like $10,000 to do this, and we said, I wonder if we could do that just with a tool we have. And in essence, we could. It wasn't that difficult. Of course.
And let's see. It's
maybe what we'll do is we'll put the link up, because we'll put the link up in the show notes,
it's not quite,
and that way they can see that too.
Correctly, so yeah.
So Kevin, with what you're showing, you're showing things that don't cost a fortune to make right now.
Correct.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's exactly why I would encourage people to do those types of gamification, because look, I just can't imagine that people have millions of dollars to spend on true gamification, because wouldn't I love all the money in the world to create a Christopher Columbus type of scenario to teach project management or anything, right?
Yeah.
But nobody has that. But to create triggers and advanced actions, triggers and storyline advanced actions in Captivate, that is certainly an attainable thing for all people to do. And it just takes a little bit of training. So, I mean, look, we have training. You would learn how to create that game in our storyline beginner class. You would learn enough about triggers to do conditional triggers that actually display math, right? That's it. To create the scenario in Captivate, the same type of scenario is more of an advanced thing, because you really got to get into advanced actions. But the virtual reality 360 room that I showed, that we teach it in the advanced class, but it's a simple concept. The reason we don't teach it in the beginner class is because there's just so much to cover. So from an ease of use perspective, the virtual reality is just about the easiest thing to learn how to do in Captivate.
Yeah. In fact, I think the hardest thing with virtual reality is learning how to use the damn cameras, so that you're not. Yeah,
you're going to have.
That is
Rick. You're 100% right. You're going to have more of a challenge with the camera, because, like I said, if you don't do it correctly, you're in the shot. Now you're trying to hide. And I know I did some virtual reality for a grocery store chain, and they were trying to get pictures of their butcher department and all that. And so we took the camera, we stuck the camera, suction cupped it in the meat tray, right? Not on the meat, it was sanitary, but around the meat, and then set the timer, and then we took off running. And clearly, I can't do a 40-yard dash because you can see in the picture, in the very distance, I'm in mid-stride trying to get out of the picture frame. So we ended up finding places to run after like 5 seconds and hide, so we're not in the camera. So but it's attainable, and I think that's the point.
We've got a comment from Robert Crago, who was actually on the show last month. He says, "We like to create competition and contests in our courses in addition to the game Kevin mentioned."
Yeah, so the competition in the games, that is often handled by the learning management system. It's not handled, so it's not something you'd have to worry about in Storyline or Captivate. I got to get a badge assigned if Rick does this, because how is the game going to know? Okay, it knows how Rick did, but how does it know how Harold did, right? So you put the game, the module into your learning management system, and the learning management system then, through its features, starts doing the competition side of this and the badges, the points, and the winner gets something decided by management. That's what I'm talking about. So he's right, that competition factor, but you don't have to spend the money to get the competition factor in the development tools themselves.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a genius to figure out how to do these things. A little creativity can go a long way, a little trying to think of how to present something that's not dry. You can learn to do this pretty quickly. And I've always been recommending people take a screenwriting course somewhere just to get a better idea of how to write more for the real world rather than just something that's usually 2D and just flat. Because unfortunately, most e-learning out there tends to be flat. It's boring. It doesn't have to be. And the stuff that Kevin's showing us, without a lot of effort in terms of money, or it's just a little bit of creativity, and you can go pretty far, make a big difference.
Right. Hey, Harold, you want to put up that calculator? Because this is another type of engagement tactic. And actually, this one, if people will find kind of useful just to go there and check it out. This one was also created in Captivate, and it's a branching scenario, highly interactive, and it could be used to teach anything. So if you were to go to that website and you said, hey, I want to develop 5 minutes of e-learning, and you type the number 5 and hit that green forward arrow, go ahead and type that there, Harold, if you would, and then hit the forward arrow. It starts to ask you a series of questions. Are you going to have a storyboard? Do you have this? What tool are you going to be using? So it goes through and it asks you a bunch of questions, and then it does the calculation out of it based on how long it's going to take you to develop the number of minutes you're planning on using. And you see, we set this up to use Captivate, Presenter, Lectura, so all of the popular tools. So this is based on pretty significant advanced actions, would still be playing a game or gamification or a branching scenario, or how about this, highly engaging. So this itself, what you're seeing right now on screen, could have been an e-learning course, you know? And I think you'll agree, Rick, this does not look like a typical e-learning course right now, but it could be a course.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And you can do something like this, what he's showing, with not a ton. I mean, you don't have to be, again, a genius, and you don't have to be a programming expert or go into programming tools or HTML5 or C++. You can do this with an authoring tool. And
yeah, this is done 1,000% in Adobe Captivate. No other programs were involved in the making of this movie. So whatever you just put in all of your scenarios, by the way, Harold, it says that based on what you told me, it's going to take you 11 hours to do this project.
Yeah, no instructional designers were hurt during this process either.
That's correct. We actually, now look, it's meant for, just to give you a general idea, that calculator, should you use it. I can't say that it's going to be a slam dunk going to match your scenario, but we have seen that the numbers you see there are relatively accurate. It's going to give you a good idea.
Yep. That's good. That's a real good one.
Thank you.
Kevin, unfortunately today we are out of time, but we're never out of time for you. So we'd love to have you come back on and share more of what you're doing. I'd like to hear more about your business too. Actually, we have a new show. I'll announce to everybody. And Kevin, I'd love to have you on that. It's called eBiz Chat, and it's all about business. We're going to talk to people
okay.
who are entrepreneurs, people who have companies, what they're doing, products that they're offering. So, you'd be perfect for that one. We're starting that one actually today, and you know what? I'll invite you on and let me know when you can make it. That's going to be more for business. It's not for learning. This is really about business. People who've done it in business, how they do it, and what products they're offering and stuff. And Kevin, you'd be perfect for that because you've done a lot, and it's mostly you and people helping out. I think your daughter works with you and stuff like that. And
she does, yep.
And you've done a great job. You've done a great job. I know people who've taken your classes, and I've seen you teach. Kevin is a great teacher. He's a lot of fun, and so I think you would greatly enjoy taking classes with him, whether they're virtual, online, or right in person. He's a very good trainer. So
yeah, we can even talk about the challenges of working and teaching from home, because I'm not sure if I was on camera when someone was trying to get my attention, and I'm like, you can't get me now. No. So how do you stop that? Because I remember seeing the fella trying to do the news when his children came into the office and his wife tried to get the children out, and it became the are you kidding me? So I almost had that exact same scenario. I'm like, I can't talk to you right now, and
it's a tough one.
It's frantic, it's important. I'm like, I'm on video, can't do it. So anyway, we could talk about that as well, and how do you really work from home, and the downside to that if people haven't discovered it on their own. Yeah, I'd love to work with you guys on that.
That sounds great. And well, we appreciate you coming on today. We wish you a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. We're a little into the year, but hey, it's still new. And for all you watching, Kevin's information will be in the show descriptions below. Please do check out his site, IconLogic. And buy his books and manuals. They're good. They're helpful, very helpful. And we will see you folks next week. And Kevin, thanks a lot. And we'll see you very soon on the other show as well.
Stay healthy. Stay healthy rest of the year, everyone.
Yep. Take that vitamin D3 and zinc and all that. You'll be healthy forever. Trust me. And magnesium. Hey, have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.